Superb. So, hi, Pritha. Thank
Hi.
you for coming in on this event. All right. So, before we get started, let me formally do the formality of introducing you to the audience. All right. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to this event once again, Leaders and Libraries. And we have bubbly, yet a very profoundly experienced international sales trainer, woman leadership coach, founder of Success Vitamin, an official member of Forbes Coaches Council, a Dale Carnegie global trainer. So she's done a lot of stuff in the space of building capabilities for organizations, for individuals. And such a pleasure, Pritha, to have you. Um, yes,
Thank
from
you.
my side as well. It
Yes.
was lovely to have you.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. The pleasure is all mine for the kind of wonderful work that you are doing. It's very unique. The work that you do is something very important. I believe everyone, every CEO, every leader, if they have any one advice for people, and that is read books. And people are reading books. But what you are doing is so wonderful that you are making people understand how they can infer that book and then apply it in their lives and get even better and better. So I
Yeah.
think congratulations to you and your team for doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. The respect is very mutual. I think all of us are here to build capabilities in individuals and help them perform better and become the better version too of themselves, right? My format is different, your format is different, but the purpose, I think, is the same, right? So it's lovely to have, what do I say, a friend, a co-colleague of the fraternity that we belong to. It's a pleasure, Pritha. So thank you for joining in and joining the force. We have had a lot of leaders coming in, and many of those conversations I have posted on LinkedIn. I'm sure you
I
must have
have gone
seen
through.
them.
Yes,
And today
wonderful.
I have you. So all of us are very excited to listen to you. And the book that you have chosen is fabulous. And I'm going to reveal the book in a moment from now. Before that, let me start with the first question. Pritha and books, how are they beautifully connected? Tell me, how did the romance start?
That's a good one. Romance. And like every romance, there has been quarrels and fights and separation, and then again coming back together. So yes, I have had all that phase with books, and it started pretty early. I mean, when I was maybe I don't even remember how old I was,
Yeah.
and it started from. I mean, it is right now. You put it in a romance way. It is sounding so cheesy right now. But let us continue in the cheesy style. Only it started in my school library. In some corner of the school library, the romance started,
Lovely, lovely.
and since then it had continued for a very long time
Mm, mm,
till it was like my it's obviously an excuse.
yeah.
One should not be saying it that way, but my work kind of got
Mm,
in the way, and I was into this banking and financial services sector, and I was working 6 days a week, and because of the 6 days a week work, and would be coming back home somewhere around 10:30 in the night. So physically so drained out and tired and all that stuff, and then you're getting only one Sunday where you have to do all your pending household chores and all that other stuff. Somewhere this reading got left aside, it took a back seat, and
mm,
much later, again probably in the year 2012 or something, I got back to reading, but this reading was a little different. Earlier reading till then, that phase, the first phase
mm,
was reading novels and stories and enjoying all of that.
mm,
But then 2012 onwards, the reading were more for my own growth, my own development.
mm.
Since then, the reading and the way, the type of reading, everything changed.
Lovely, lovely. I think all of us have gone through this journey from the Tinkles to Chanda Mamas to Nancy Drews to Famous Fives and Laurel Hardys to
Yes.
moved on, right? And then today we are reading multiple other books without looking at any genre, right? because today we do a lot of serious reading, which is also part of our own development, plus also our profession that we are into necessitates us to read a lot so that we can bring those wealth of knowledge for our dear participants in a classroom, right? So
Absolutely.
I think that's a lovely thing.
Absolutely.
So tell me, so many years of romance with books. How has Pritha the reader evolved into Pritha the leader?
The reader to leader journey,
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
saying. Oh, this is a very, this is a very interesting thing. I mean, as I said, initially it was just enjoying the whole story. Its life was like a movie. So it was
Mm,
more for entertainment,
mm,
right? So that is where I was the reader.
mm.
But later, when it changed to trying to find out the meaning, because the
Right,
genres also changed, right?
right.
So from those, as you rightly said, from those Nancy Drews and Famous Five and Agatha Christie, and then I don't know how this thing moved on the way, but then eventually it was more for the development and how when I started understanding books, when the kind of
Mm.
books that I started picking up for reading, it was
That's
not only
beautiful.
books. When I'm talking about reading, then I was reading more of publications. It was
Wow.
I was a big fan of we can endorse, right? I can endorse
Of course, of course, of course.
publications and all that, right?
Oh, that
So
inspires a lot of budding leaders to go back and pick up those endorsements and read them, right?
yeah, but nobody's paying me. No, just know this. No one is paying me for this, but it is primarily because it helped me a lot. So I'm trying to share this with you.
Thank you.
Because I had to know a lot about the industry and what's going on and what is happening, around the world and all that stuff. So I was very hooked onto McKinsey Quarterly, very hooked onto that. And then there was this HBR. So I had taken a subscription long back, and
Mm.
with that HBR and McKinsey Quarterly, I was getting my full dose of learning. That was more for self development. So you can see that self leadership started from there.
Beautiful.
That how do I develop myself? How do I
Mm.
get better? How do I not stay mediocre
Lovely.
and be above? Above that where there are less competition. So that way I was, in my and also because I had to go and speak with the senior level executives,
Right.
the CXOs. How would it look if they are talking about something and I am clueless sitting out there and knowing nothing about what's happening?
I know.
So the development of that leadership started from there, that I should be able to lead a discussion.
Beautiful.
I should not be left behind. There was this, I always was very conscious about building a personal brand.
Mm.
So I did not want that because of me, my personal brand get affected.
Lovely.
So I think the leadership thing started from being self-aware and by being accountable for myself.
Beautiful.
So that is where I think the transition happened. Now then after that, obviously when I had other people looking up to me and following me, and I knew that then that's a responsibility, then that responsibility is far easier. I feel
Yeah.
that leading self and admitting to self
Mm.
is a far bigger it's probably a little more difficult thing to do than
Mm.
to lead someone else, because to us we are the most arrogant, most obstinate, most stubborn kind of people. And we can fight with ourselves, and we can look at ourselves, every day probably.
Yes.
We tell ourselves every day, tomorrow 5 o'clock I'm definitely going to get up, but look at how the fight that our internal self has with us, and how they win. So the day we start leading our internal self, then the outside world is very simple. There are so many leadership styles given out by so many leadership gurus. Just follow one of the styles, mix and match them. It's very easy to then lead somebody else.
You actually made leading people and leadership a very easy thing to do. It's more about managing self, which is tougher. It almost, you said it in a flow, but I think it makes a lot of sense because your transition from those Agatha Christie kind of books to leadership books is an inflection point that happened in all our lives, right? And that's a crucial inflection that happened. And from there, the reflection also started happening for all of us. I mean, evolved as what Pritha Dubey you are today, probably what Rajiv I am, and what other leaders who came out of this event are today.
Absolutely.
Beautifully articulated. So the books have been great. The book that you have taken today, first time we're going to talk about this book on this event because no other leader has picked this book earlier, so there's no repetition. It's going to be fresh for
Wow.
people who are listening, but that doesn't mean it's a fresh book. The book has been there for generations. It's impacted great grandfathers, great grandmothers, grandmothers, grandfathers, father. The list is long, right?
Yeah.
One of the top read and sold books. The
Yeah.
book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Tell me, Pritha, of all the books, why this book ended up being one of the most inspiring ones for you? And I'm so excited and happy to talk about this book.
I
We
know.
have a common connection there.
I can so understand that excitement and enthusiasm that you have from within, and that is the reason why, Rajiv, you will absolutely believe and understand this, that I think it is not only me or you who who finds this book so inspirational.
Hmm.
I mean, across the world, I believe anyone, you ask anybody who has read that book, I believe everyone will say that this book has changed my life, or this book has
Absolutely.
transformed me. And the beauty of this book is that at when I have taught on this particular book
Hmm.
or across batches, the interesting thing is that people would say that, I was gifted this book by my
Hmm.
father or by my grandfather, and people would have read it when they were in schools,
Hmm.
and then or somebody would have read it when they were in a college, but then
Hmm.
they would have also read it again in their work life at
Yeah.
different phases of our life. When we are reading this book,
Hmm.
every time it's a new learning, it's a new meaning that comes out from
Yes.
all those 30 principles. Every time the meaning is different.
Oh, I agree.
And that is why I feel that this is such an inspirational book. It is not, no matter if when I am a student, this
Hmm.
book is meaningful to me as a student.
Yeah.
When I am in probably just early stage career person, this book is so meaningful for me when in an early stage career.
Absolutely.
And when I am transitioning, even then it is so meaningful. Even at a senior leadership, this is very meaningful. So I this book, I believe, is not one. It is, people say, that one size doesn't fit all, but I think this is one such book that fits all across generations. This book fits. So I think that is the reason why I am simply in love with this book.
I mean, I love that one size fits all. This book is also a book that fits all across all generations, all time zones, the entire journey. I think you very rightly said because this particular book and the writings of Carnegie in terms of principles manifest beautifully in the different stages that we are. Like a water flowing, the river just flows along with us, right? And we are able to get the meaning very contextually in that particular stage in which we are. I think that's a beauty of the book. Yet so simple, isn't it? None of them are HBR or McKinsey's and data and statistics. Simple, everyday, usable tools. Lovely, lovely. So I'm gonna have this chat with you on a little bit of deep diving into a couple of principles that Dale Carnegie talks about in this book. And I fundamentally believe, Pritha, that, and I can talk for myself. I clearly know a pre-Rajiv and a post-Rajiv uh, after living the human relation principles from this book, right? I can definitely say this, and all credit goes to the great man. So let's help the budding leaders to understand this through you. Why is this first principle such a powerful one, and why do you see it so important for all the budding leaders in the current world? Don't criticize, condemn, and complain.
If you, as I said, the most difficult part is self-management, and we are the most obstinate and stubborn kind of people. If we look at everything that's happening around us, um, all that, if at times we feel very dejected or depressed or demotivated, by nature we automatically start blaming the outside world for it,
Hmm.
for all the wrong things that is happening to us.
Hmm.
Now imagine a situation that if to ourselves only we stop complaining,
Right.
to ourselves only we stop criticizing or condemning anything that is
mm,
happening. No,
mm,
because all that eventually we all, if we ask ourselves, what is your goal? People may say a lot of stuff like recognition,
mm,
aspiration, money, fame. I don't know, many things.
mm.
But eventually, everything is boiling down to happiness.
Correct.
What is it that I am doing that
Mm,
eventually gives me happiness? For to some people, a lots of money will give them happiness. To some
mm.
people, power will give them happiness. But it's happiness. It's a feeling from within.
Correct.
And if I am feeling calm and happy, I am able to then deal with everything around.
Mm,
So I think to the budding leaders, and the reason I'm telling this to the budding leaders is because you are going to face a lot of challenge. You are just entering a grind, and there will be a lot of challenge for all of you. There will
yeah.
be many things happening around you which you will not like, you may not appreciate. Some things you may feel that they are against your principles or basic values.
Mm,
Now, there are two things that you can do at that time. You can either criticize, condemn, and complain, see, and or you can not do any of those things and
right.
be a little more self-aware, control your emotions, and deal with the situation.
Mm, mm,
So if you criticize, condemn, and complain, whosoever I am doing it against,
mm.
trust me, we have seen that with experience. You would have also seen this. It affects
Yeah,
none. It impacts none.
I agree.
If I am criticizing my boss or complaining against my boss, he cares, he or she cares a hoot.
Yeah.
It doesn't even affect them. And first and foremost, we don't even go and tell it in front of or on their face. We are
Mm,
doing it internally
mm,
within our groups, within me. So
mm.
basically, I am polluting myself by complaining to me, or I am polluting my friends by complaining to them.
Correct.
But that is not the ideal scenario, because that is not going to give you happiness, because
Mm,
eventually you are the one who's going to feel extremely low
mm,
and down with
mm.
all that criticism. There are ways. I'm not saying that, if your boss or somebody, something around you is going wrong, you should keep quiet.
Mm,
There are ways of dealing with it.
mm.
Deal with it is what I'm trying to say.
I think you make a lot of sense because if you're going to do this constantly, you end up being a toxic person and you start spreading toxicity around, right? It doesn't help you either, neither the other person, because none of them are going to come and rescue you in the times that are going to be tough for you, right? So I think it makes tremendous sense. Uh, it's a very democratic world that we are in, right? And we are working with people who like to look at different opinions. They would want to contest. They would want to challenge. They do all this stuff, right? Very different to the our father's generation where we had one father with one organization with the same bald-headed boss for the last 45 years. Here it doesn't work that way. So in this kind of a democratic leadership world, how do you think leaders should make the other person feel important continuously and do it very sincerely?
Mhm. Yes, I think making the other person feel important is not the challenging part.
Mm,
We are all very smart.
mm,
And, all of us, I very strongly believe we know how to sell. Right
mm.
from childhood, we have been selling to
Yeah,
our father, to our mother, to our friends, to
I agree.
everyone. We have been selling. And in that entire selling technique, we have learned one technique, which is make the other person feel important and get your job done. Okay.
Yeah.
So making the other person feel important is not the difficult task here.
Mm,
The challenge is we are used to manipulation.
right.
All these years we know that we have to get the job done. So whether it's a different department, so
Mm,
I'm in sales and I have to get my job done from a credit team.
mm,
So I go and make the person feel important. They say, build relationship. People
correct.
teach that. Why don't you build relationship with that other department?
Yeah, as if it's an easy job.
Yeah. So what happens? You go and how do you build relationship? You go there, you talk to them, oh, how are you doing? And oh my God, who are there in your family? Oh, this must be
Correct.
very tough for you. How are you working? And we make the person feel very important.
Mm,
But the question is, why then this thing is why? why is it not called sincere? It's very important, whatever, all these 30 principles, when Mr. Dale Carnegie wrote this book and these 30 principles, time and again, through all these 30 principles, you will keep hearing this genuine, sincere, all these words are used. Why? Because even 100 years back, people were not genuine and sincere. And that is the reason why he's trying to, he's harping on that fact.
Absolutely.
So something that a leader has to do is, I know you make people feel important. You know, when you are leading a team, you know that I have to make my team feel very important. Time to time. So there are these informal huddles that happen, after the office hours.
Correct.
And then there are these recognitions that they come up with, which kind of they feel that this is how I am making my team feel very important, through these appreciation notes, or through these recognitions, or through the awards that I am giving out to them. Or nowadays it has become very interesting. You go on to LinkedIn and you use that appreciation thing on LinkedIn. I want to appreciate my, so and so person, Ajna, for being a team player. Now, these are, of course, one way that, all these styles people know. What, and again, it comes back to self-management. What a leader therefore needs to develop is do this without the expectation of getting some work done from it.
Okay, so I'm going to pause you here. When I go and do that, are you not a wise person to know that I'm actually trying to manage? I come and tell you, Pritha, you look lovely. I love that black and white dress you're wearing. The necklace is nice. The kind of money that you wrote that day is very good. Would you not know that I am lip servicing there? You're also a wise and an experienced leader there.
Absolutely. And
that will make you feel sincere there.
So you are asking now to basically get into the entire course and spill out all the tricks of how do we make you.
Just give me
so I suggest that attend the course either by Rajiv or me. We work on this entire course of how to win friends and influence people. If you want to learn how to make how can you make other people feel important, and that too sincerely without coming across as manipulative, connect with Rajiv and he will take you through that course.
That's a good answer, very smart answer, right? So my next question goes to the next principle, right? We see a mistake happening in front of us. We are not happy about it. There could be repetition of the mistake by the same person. Dale Carnegie talks about a principle of calling attention to people's mistakes indirectly.
Indirectly, yes.
What is the advantage of doing this, and why should leaders practice this effectively?
If we ask this to leaders, they would all say the advantages and the benefits of it. Again, the challenge is, how do I do it? The challenge is there. We are so used to directly calling out the mistakes. Okay. So something that one has to understand is that nobody is saying that don't call out the mistake. Right. Or don't point out the mistake. Don't correct the mistake. And that is where leaders as a coach becomes very important. Now, what do we do in coaching? We also come across so many people, senior level people, CXOs. Imagine CXOs sit with us, although at the CXO level, the learning, the being there with that sponge kind of a thing is more, they are like more absorbing, they are more willing to admit. The level down or that mid-management to senior management level, they come with a lot of ego. It's not easy for them, for somebody to come to tell them that, this is a mistake that you are doing. So therefore, use the coaching methodology. Now, let us understand why calling to people's mistake directly. What are the disadvantages of doing that? Because the minute you understand the disadvantages, you'll automatically realize that why we should be indirect to that.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So when we are calling, I always say that, put yourself in that person's shoes. If you have done, so there are first and foremost, there are two things that happens in a mistake. One is the person and the other is the issue. All right. More often than not, the mistake that a leader does is they start calling out the person. And that becomes very demotivating.
Right.
Now, there are two different things. So you as a leader may not have a major issue with the person.
Mm.
The reason you are unhappy or a little irritated right now or a bit angry also from inside, maybe you're not able to show it, but
Could be.
that is because that there is an issue that happened, a
That has not been
problem
solved.
that has not been solved.
Mm.
That so of course it may have happened because of this person's mistake,
Mm.
but it was not the mistake of the human. It was the mistake of a process that this person followed.
Correct.
So when we are talking about, when we are saying that, call out indirectly, there are ways to do that.
Mm.
So
Mm.
therefore, rather than pointing out or calling out this person
Mm.
and humiliating him or demotivating this person,
Mm.
address the issue at hand, address the problem at hand. If there is a
Right.
process issue, look at that process
Mm.
and then say that I think this process, there was something wrong with the process. Now,
Correct.
if I say this person who's done the mistake and if I tell that there was something wrong with the process,
Mm.
the person is excluded
Correct.
from that whole mistake.
Yeah.
And then this person also works along with me to
Mm.
find out the problem in the process
Mm.
and realize and, oh yeah, I missed this step. It should have, this step got missed out. It
Correct.
should have been done. So great. So we understood the learning happened. He became more accountable,
Mm.
and overall there was an engagement. So
Correct.
I think that is something that leaders need to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense because the tendency, to directly call is so high in all of us, isn't it? I think that kind of grows also because of the vast experience that we start carrying on our shoulders over the year.
Yeah.
I know it.
Mm.
This won't work. I know this other thing will work. Or let me add value to what you're saying. All these tendencies that we have and temptations we have kind of pushes us to do it so directly, right? We don't realize it. Right? As recently as day before yesterday, I was talking to my sister-in-law, and in a conversation where I had a bit of an anxiety on something at home, on a personal situation, and I said something, and then I said it a reflex, a pullback. I said, oh, I said it directly. And I realized, oh, this principle just went out of the window for a moment. Then I had to take the extra effort of now apologizing and then try to retrieve the situation. So much of effort goes in doing the second bit, isn't it?
Yeah, but at the same time, see, again, we are all human. We need to
Yeah.
understand. We may be leaders, but we're not machines. It's not that there is some coding
Mm.
that has been fit inside us and we will accordingly start working
Correct.
in that manner. We understand. In a calm zone, if you call a leader, the leader will exactly say what you and I are saying.
Absolutely.
But on that, on the floor, during that situation, in that moment, because we are human, so we tend to kind of at times forget. But you reminded of the other principle. When you're wrong, admit it uh, empathically. So what happens here then is that I think that is a bigger leadership quality,
Mm. Mm.
to admit your mistakes.
Right.
I think many times that is where again it comes to the self-awareness and self-management.
Absolutely.
Most of us are very poor with that quick admission of mistakes.
I agree.
We are human. We need to understand that, and it is a very well-known phrase to err is human.
Yeah.
So it cannot be that we will not err. We will keep erring, and there will be a lot of mistakes that will happen from our side also. Just because I am handling a leadership, I am handling a team, or I have been made a leader, does not mean that suddenly I have become demigod.
Absolutely.
But what we need to be aware of um, are all the mistakes, all the mistakes that we are doing.
Mm.
We should be quick to identify, oh, this was like how you said in your example, very quick to identify, oh, this was a mistake. I should not have done it. And then so quickly you responded.
Mm.
That is leadership. And that is what makes us come across as humans in front of our team members. And that the minute that the team starts looking at us as humans,
Yeah.
they are able to relate with us. They are able to then understand us, and they are then ready to
Absolutely.
work with us.
Absolutely, because your vulnerability is exposed there, right? I love to see the leaders' vulnerability out and they can come out to the same page, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always wonder, as you rightly said, Pritha, so many things happening at work from morning to evening, hundreds of situations could be process, people, organization, business, growth. To constantly have this antenna of awareness, always, it's such a task, isn't it? No, I keep telling people it's okay to go and bang your head against the wall inside your washroom, but the moment you get out of the washroom, you become the demonator like the hospitality industry and come back and oh my god, that's so tough, isn't it? I mean,
It,
it's tough.
it, it looks tough. It looks tough. It sounds tough to be
Mm,
self-aware. Honestly, it requires a little bit of practice.
practice.
It requires a little bit of practice because we are otherwise also we are aware. Aren't we aware of what is happening around
Yeah,
around our market?
yeah.
What's happening with our competitors? What's happening in the industry, in the economy,
Mm,
globally? We
mm,
are aware of all these things. The
mm,
only things that we are, because those are the things that we felt so
mm,
far,
mm,
that those awarenesses are important for us, for our own growth, for our own betterment.
mm.
Similar, so our conscious mind got into that action, and the conscious mind kind of fed the subconscious that, be aware of all these things for your growth. This is important that you be aware.
Correct.
Similarly, if we start again feeding the subconscious that, being self-aware, being aware of the changes that my body is feeling
Mm,
during certain times,
mm.
uh, means that some changes are happening around me. So
Correct.
it is not that emotional awareness actually is very easy
Mm,
to identify, because the minute we are emotionally aware, there is a change in the body. The body
absolutely.
starts feeling differently.
Yeah.
So the minute we start feeling, sensing something changing in our body, it should tell us that, okay, it's time for me to be aware. It's
Yeah.
time for me to be aware. So
There's a signal strongly coming there,
that's
isn't
like
it?
an alarm which is saying tack tack
Yeah.
tack. So you get aware. Okay, fine. Let me get aware and let me just see what I did right now. Okay, I'm getting angry. Why am I angry? Because there was a mistake that happened. Okay, why did this mistake happen? Because uh, this guy in front of me, million times I've told him to do this
Mm,
correctly, but he could not do it correctly.
mm,
Okay, what have is this a generic problem? It is his problem, or it's a
mm.
problem with this, or is it that this particular thing is too complicated for him, or
Correct.
you have not taken out time to explain to him or teach him that.
Possible. Possible.
All right, so I think, yeah, maybe I haven't. Okay, now right now let me give him the benefit of doubt, let me solve this, and maybe I'll sit with him later and I'll try
Yeah.
and understand what is wrong, why repeatedly this person is doing this mistake. So if there is something that I need to train him on, let me train him on, and then let me see what can be done.
Beautifully articulated. I like that distinction that you made of we are conscious of the fact that I need to be aware about business and market, all that which seemingly are very, very important for my growth, my organization, my department, etc. But somewhere the similar amount of awareness that we need to give to ourselves and our own thoughts seems to be a secondary importance for us, right? And as you rightly said, this example that you gave of this guy, our mind is so quick, it can actually move so quickly and make us be aware. बट हम शायद कॉन्शियस उतना एफर्ट यहाँ नहीं लगा रहे जितना बाहर के लिए लगाते हैं. That's
Absolutely.
the shift that leaders need to have, isn't it?
Absolutely. See, all
I think,
these things that Mr. Dale Carnegie he wrote it long back though,
mm,
but if you look at it, this is what emotional intelligence talks about, right? All these emotional and social intelligence that
mm,
we are teaching leaders, it talks about that only, because it starts with self-awareness,
mm,
and then it goes to self-management,
yeah,
then it moves to social awareness,
correct,
and then finally it moves to relationship management. So it
correct,
starts only with self-awareness. All the leaders, when they are doing this coaching, it
yeah,
starts with that self-awareness.
absolutely. It's always an inside out, never an outside in, isn't it?
No, no,
You-
no.
I'm going to ask you this question. This particular principle called becoming genuinely interested in other people,
See,
right?
again, genuine, sincere.
Yeah, you said that word genuine, right? An extrovert can genuinely become interested. How do introvert budding leaders who naturally don't go and get interested in people also start following this principle? Because all of us have seen benefit of this. Any inputs on that?
Okay. So let me reveal something to you. during the start, you said that I'm this bubbly person, and I may come across to people as a very talkative, and I can talk and all that stuff. But I am an introvert. I'm a big time introvert. Okay. Now, given a choice, I may not step out of my room.
That's
I may want to be,
unbelievable.
yeah, it is. It is like that. I am also throughout the day, most of the time, I'm inside my room. But with my family, of course, it's a different thing. I have a close, like it is with every introvert, there is a close set of friends, and you're very close, intimate network. And you are your lively self, and all that mad and wacky in that intimate circle. But to the outside,
Mm.
it takes me a lot of time. So I'm a big time introvert. Okay. I do not, so every time I get into a training with these unknown faces, I know what happens within, and I know the self fight that I do with myself to be able to, wear that avatar of being all that energetic and yay, hi, how are you, and all that stuff. So,
Wow, I didn't know this.
yes. So when you say that, how can an introvert? So I feel that if I can, so can everyone. It is all about what do I want for myself,
Correct. Correct.
and how do I want my personal brand to be.
Mm. Mm.
Because of my profession, of course, there was a need for me for a very different kind of a personal brand. To think of it being an introvert and started the career, and all through the career was only into sales.
Mm.
They just don't click.
I
And
was just about to ask you this question. You just pulled it out of my mouth. Sales and an introvert, they don't go
does
together.
not click. I know the kind of struggles I had to go through when I was sent for a networking event. And I was supposed to connect with so many people and collect their business cards, and
Oh my
generate those.
goodness.
I know it is not possible. It is so difficult for me. It is still so difficult for me to get into a crowded place and just start talking.
Mm.
But it is about what do I want,
Mm.
and what is the value that I want to add. And what is my goal.
Mm.
So I have a personal vision, I have a personal goal, and for me to achieve my personal goal, others are important. I need others. So
Mm.
if I need others, I have to be interested in them fighting my own internal conflict.
Right.
I have to win over my internal conflict and fight it. It is not that, that extroverts can talk. Extroverts are a little outward looking, but even they have the same challenge. Very few people are so uninhibited that they can just walk up to anybody and everybody and just start, hey, buddy, is like that movie Anand, where he's like, he can go and whatever he used to call
Yeah.
Jaishankar, or I don't know, something he used to call that person. Very few people are like that. Most people, even when I was I coach people on public speaking. This is one of the tasks that I used to do. Now it is not possible, but earlier I used to take them out
Okay.
for when the this kind of this containment was not there. I would take them out to a coffee shop,
Mm.
and one of the tasks for the leader was to just randomly walk up to someone and have a conversation.
So
Okay.
intimidating.
It is. And I would sit there, and they would have to just randomly go, whether it's a receptionist or it's someone sitting there having a coffee or someone working. I will point them out, and they will have to go and talk to that person. And it's not like a bet, that you can go and say that I had a bet with this person, so I have to, please don't mind.
Correct.
It's like, go a proper, polite professional, have a proper conversation, and build a rapport and come back. And it used to be very intimidating for people. So it is not
It
that
was.
easy. This is a
Thank
very
you.
different. This is a very different fear. This is a very different internal fight that individuals have to win over.
No, I agree. I agree. I know a person who works with introverts and coaches them to become a little more confident. And he beautifully says, "My job is not to make an introvert an extrovert. My job is to help the introvert to stay as an introvert, yet be able to fight those internal battles and make a success in life. I said, this made tremendous sense. And I could so relate to what you said about yourself, Pritha, that maybe you have not become an extrovert, you're still an introvert, but you're able to do certain things externally for the need or want that you have in your own developmental journey and growth and all that stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, to a large extent, my role in sales
Yeah.
helped, because had I not been in sales, I was kind of forced into changing. So one was that, and the second is this book. It really helped, because all these 30 principles is not asking anyone to be an extrovert, but I can still win friends and influence people.
Right, right. Beautiful. I think the profession also played a significant role, isn't it, to help you to become. I think it's a great lesson for all the budding leaders that it's not about worrying whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. It's about fighting those internal battles and then finally coming out successful. I think that's very important, guys. If you have Pritha Dubey, a seasoned lady here doing it, I think all of you can do it. So do not get into this fight of I would want to become that extrovert and become that bubbly person. That's not the agenda, isn't it? The agenda is to be that confident person and be with the world and do what you want to do, right? And you yet call yourself an introvert. I think that it takes tremendous confidence to admit that I'm still an introvert. You did that beautifully. So thank you so much for doing that on this channel, because I think it's very important. I have met so many individuals who say, "अच्छा मुझे सर आपकी जैसे बात करना है, मुझे confidently जाके वो बोलना है." I understand the intention, but it's not about suddenly becoming that bubbly person for them. And for them, that's apparently a success mantra, which is so wrong, isn't it? So thank you for bringing that. Makes tremendous sense here. I want to ask you this particular question here. Uh, Encouragement, such an important element, right? As a tool in the hands of leaders, and we talk about employee engagement, motivation, rewards and recognition, all that. And Dale Carnegie talks about making the fault seem very easy to correct for the other person. That's what leaders need to do. Where do you think the leaders make that fundamental flaw? Because every leader wants to correct the person, but what is the flaw?
You are right. Every leader wants to correct the person. Right? Again, brings me back to that same. I would like to highlight again the same thing that I said, that they do not differentiate the person from the mistake.
Right.
They want to correct the mistake, and they want to help this person not repeat the mistake. That is what the objective is of the
Absolutely.
leader. All right. But where I think, see again, all these 30 principles, I can apply a few of them in isolation, separately, individually, but many of them, especially the leadership ones, the 11 to 21, those, or the 10 to 21, the leadership principles, they are I feel they should be applied together. You should work at them together. Now, when we are talking about use encouragement, I think where they do a mistake is they feel that by appreciating an achievement, or by giving an award, or by recognizing some good work done, I am encouraging.
Okay.
I always ask them, so, of what percentage of your team, therefore, falls under that bracket? Because this recognition is happening for somebody who has done something good.
Correct.
Your awards and all these appreciations are happening for something that one has accomplished. Some achievement would have happened. So does 100% of your team fall under that? So obviously the answer is no.
No. Yeah.
Again, we say that, our team is divided into 3 categories. One is the lower rung, then the mediocres, and then the outstanding one, the above mediocres one. So below mediocre, and above mediocre.
Right.
More often than not, these encouragements, therefore, keeps floating on the above mediocre range.
Possible, yes.
Which could be 5%, 10%, we don't know, depending on team to team. But people in the mediocre, few people in the mediocre may also be getting that thing, who are like on more on the boundary side, or a lot on the lower rung, very few people, I think very rarely somebody gets that encouragement from the leader.
Correct.
Okay. So I think the biggest mistake that they understand is they feel that encouragement happens only, or encouragement is via appreciation, and that appreciation can happen only if they have done something good. Otherwise, there is nothing to appreciate that person.
Correct, correct.
So I think that is the biggest mistake that they do. Or another mistake that they do is by encouragement, they just say that हो जाएगा तू कर मैं हूँ तेरे साथ, don't worry हो जाएगा अरे what हो जाएगा, that is not an encouragement to say someone that हो जाएगा, that हो जाएगा is done by a coach on the day of the match. From the outside the ground, that's a very different, because he does not want at that time, the coach doesn't want that, that moment your determination should fall short. So that ho jayega comes very late.
Correct.
Before that, there is a lot of other encouragements that happen, and those encouragements happen in terms of correcting mistakes. There are correcting mistakes in the sense like indirectly, you're falling out of mistakes. But those encouragements happen in terms of how much time are you spending with your team to coach them. None of the leaders have a specific time for coaching. They said, I coach on the job. What is this? So I try and understand, okay, what is this on the job coaching? When they call me and they have a problem, I tell them how this has to be done. But that's mentoring. You're mentoring a person of how you are going to do. Mentoring is very well accepted, and mentoring will take some time for people to kind of pick it up and do it. But coaching is very different. Coaching is about you also making the person resilient. You also making the person, be strong from within. So, that is encouragement. How much time am I spending with my team to coach them, to make them better, to make them grow, to identify where exactly, which competencies are there as a gap, and then I'm trying and doing something to bridge those gaps in my team. That is called encouragement.
Correct.
So I think that is something that the leaders need to understand. The leadership, the problem that I see in most of the leaders is that their time is mostly invested in being a good manager. In all the managerial tasks, they are more engrossed. Somewhere they call themselves a leader, but that leadership takes a back seat. They are not really doing the job of a leader.
I agree. Very few of them do it. And that's why we see such great examples where we have employees following a leader and joining another organization behind him, behind her, because for that individual, that leader made a tremendous impact in his or her life by helping him, her to become a better person, correcting those mistakes. So for him or her, the organization is only an incidental element. But staying with that leader becomes important. So piche with person goes. I think such leaders do a good job.
Absolutely. You are so right.
Super. So tell me, as we come to the closure of this conversation, I'm going to ask you this very easy question and expect a very easy and a simple answer. Which are those two principles that has helped you win friends and influence people? That's the first question. Second half of the question, or the next question, is two razor sharp advice to the budding listeners.
Okay, so two principles that has actually very, very difficult for me to choose two principles from these 30, because I have kind of applied all the 30 principles. Somewhere or the other, I have got the chance to apply the 30 principles, honestly. But I think two principles from a leadership perspective that I feel helps a leader. If one can, and again, the word is being genuine and very sincerely applying it, not to manipulate somebody. Okay. Then there is this principle which says that let the other person save face. which is very, very important, because whether I am correcting, whether I am pointing out a mistake, or whether I am coaching someone, whether I am mentoring someone, or whatever leadership I am doing, it is very, very important for the leader to let the other person save face.
Yeah.
So I think they should remember, rather than pointing out directly. They do nowadays. They do that. Gone are those days when we used to get shouted at publicly.
Correct.
On the entire floor, my boss would be shouting at me from that corner, and the other department sitting in the other corner could hear it, and then they will ask me, "आज तो बहुत पड़ गई तुम्हारे को." Now
Sales में तो ज़्यादा होता है ये.
बहुत ज़्यादा पड़ती थी. So they would be like, "Oh, आज कैसी लगी तुमको?" But what happens is that, over a period of time, some people take it lightly, especially salespeople. But then, see, that also is not valuable, right? If I'm taking my boss's shouting lightly, even that is not valuable. But some people take it personally. So let the other person save face. So publicly nowadays, people anyway don't chide anyone. But even if you are on the, in a private cubicle, say the things in a way that it does not humiliate the person. We also have a lot of self-respect, each one of us. Right? So I need to save face in front of myself also.
Absolutely.
You don't want me to feel so bad about being me that I get all depressed. So I think that is one aspect. And other principle that I really liked and is give the other person a fine reputation to live up to.
Absolutely.
I think when leaders turn into coaches, they will understand the importance of this principle.
This principle, I agree.
So, and how beautifully then it helps in creating accountability and ownership and making the team follow, and even the last principle, making the other person feel happy about doing the things you suggest. All these things it becomes very easy if we start with that, give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. These two principles have helped me in my coaching, in my training. For trainers, so this works beautifully. Let the other person save face. I keep telling the trainers all the time, boss, in your room, please let the other person save face. Don't say anything or do anything that humiliates anyone. Also, something we need to remember why this is important, let other person save face, is we are not dealing with kids. We can just do and say whatever. We have to understand each one of us comes with the self-respect, comes with ego. Just because I don't show it does not mean that, I don't have any self-respect whatsoever. That is not the case.
Absolutely.
So, giving respect does not require a leadership quality. I think that's a human quality, to give respect to the other person. So yes, that is to answer the first question, probably a little lengthy elaboration. And I think I mixed the second answer to the second question also in this answer, that what are some things that they should do. And when I'm saying it to the leaders, I'm more than the budding leaders, I'm addressing it to the senior management, because and the ones who are very seasoned with leadership, you know a lot, you already are aware of a lot of stuff about leadership. It's important that you look inside and be a little self-aware that if you are doing everything, you are applying everything that you know. And maybe create a journal for yourself. Try and see where all and how many days you are faulting on application of the things that you know.
Absolutely. Thank you for that final note. That made tremendous sense for the senior leaders as well, because as you rightly said, as we keep becoming senior day by day, we may fault, but we may not be conscious that I'm faulting so many times. It's so important to kind of keep a track of that, and goes back to that word that you started the conversation. It again makes you all the more aware, right? And your awareness becomes more internal than the external of organizations and markets. It kind of beautifully sits, And what I like, Pritha, is you did not talk about any one of them as individual. You kind of stitched them together, and all of them seem to be a pot of tools or principles that anybody can just apply and become the better version of himself or herself, right?
Very true, very true. All these 30 principles are the principles from where success vitamin originated.
Absolutely.
If I was so inspired by these 30 principles that I knew that, the immediate thing that came to my mind at that when I was reading it or when I was going through it, that these are those vitamin doses for success. And that is why I kind of then thought that, I am going to name my work as success vitamin.
I think I love that. That's a very catchy name, and it makes tremendous sense also because end of the day, it's about, I call it tools, you call it vitamins, but it's about if you take those vitamins in the right doses and go and apply, anybody can taste success, right?
Absolutely.
So, guys, all of you who are looking at wanting those vitamins, you know where to go. Connect with Pritha Dubey on LinkedIn. She does a fabulous job, whether it is sales, whether it is motivation, whether it is attitude transformation, leadership, coaching, multiple spaces. I can use all these words, but end of the day, her purpose or her why, like Simon Sinek says, is helping you become the better version of yourself. That's what she does. Pritha, thank you so much for coming. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for beautifully talking to us. How was your experience? One
I
or two
have
words?
Yes, I had a lot of fun, Rajiv. So, talking with you on this book, especially because you also come with that background of being a Dale Carnegie trainer yourself, and you have taught these principles, so have I, and therefore we know how these principles were kind of instilled in within us during our time at
Yeah,
Dale
yeah,
Carnegie. But even if it were not instilled in us, I think this book is so fabulous that
it is.
automatically anyone who reads it, and also because it is written so beautifully, it is written so simply with so many examples that you can really pick up
Correct.
ways of applying it. You don't have to whack your brains to of trying to figure out that, how do I now apply this principle.
Actually,
He has written it so beautifully that immediately it comes to mind, well, yeah, I can do something like that, and this is how I can apply this principle.
absolutely.
So, your wisdom, you having read so many books, and the way you are therefore able to very quickly connect the dots and bring out the real meaning, from all these different things that we're talking about. I think it is only because of the books that you have read. It is because of the work that you do. I told you this also when I connected with you, that and I said it at the start also. This is something which is the most wonderful thing that can happen to the leaders,
Thank you.
because yes, there are many models on leadership available. Yet a lot of the learning
Mm,
are inside these books written by some big leaders, eminent leaders themselves,
correct.
some thought gurus and thought leadership gurus or motivational gurus. There are some books which are from our ancient
Mm,
time, whether it
mm,
is the Vedas and the Puranas or the Gita.
correct.
Now, one of my ex colleague in Dale kind of drew a parallel between how to influence people and the Gita, and it was so wonderful about the
Beautiful.
things that that both of them are saying. It's almost similar, and the way you are able to therefore help the leadership. I think most of the leaders, they should, because you every one of you can read a book individually and you will try to infer it
Correct.
as your in your own way. But when you have a coach and a team, a peer along with you together, helping you understand it, because you are also, how I understand is they also understand, every aspect of that book applied in different industries and different
Correct.
sectors and in different job roles. That concept becomes all the more clear.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. It was lovely talking to you, Pritha. You have a fantastic evening. You have a fantastic week, and
Thank you.
keep giving those dosages of vitamins to all your people so that they keep tasting success and success and success. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to meet you sometime as things open up, Pritha. It was
Thank
lovely.
you. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you so much, everyone. All the best. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye bye. Bye.